to start talking trash, but I said, no, I'm going to behave now because you got me ready to get on. And I'm feeling that rich kind of, I'm about to turn it out kind of feeling.
I'm good at interrupting. So let's see. Let's you start talking with, and then at exactly 6:58, I'll go to
I can't see the time on my.
Don't worry about that. I got you. I just need you
Okay.
to just talk. That's all I need. I take
I
care
can
of
talk about anything I want right now.
you. Will let talk. Let's talk about the book.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know if we had started or not.
Just talking.
So,
Keep talking about the book
well,
and
here's the thing. Okay, when I went through the book, I read the book so fast, I had to go through the book at least three times afterwards because the principles were so simplistic to me, yet so powerful. I had to go through it. I had to sit down and rethink what I thought I read, and it was absolutely wonderful. And so once I did that, I start realizing that, okay, you know what, Rich, this is a lot deeper than I thought. So I need to really pay attention to what is the underlying message that they're giving other than the topical information that I'm receiving. So I went back and I read it again, and it kept dawning on me that the humans were acting like the rodents, and the rodents were acting like humans because they had the foresight and the thought process of let's move, let's go to the next space. And so many times we as humans, we act like we're on a wheel, a hamster wheel, and we're going as fast as we can on a hamster wheel, but we're not progressing, and we can't even see the fact that we're not progressing. But we think that we get confused with action, activity with actual work and progression and success. And that to me is just mind boggling. And one of the things in my life that I've always been proud of is that I would not stay in a place where I didn't feel that I could not move higher. Because one of the first things I would always tell my boss when I was getting hired is, my job is to fire you. And they would be like, what do you mean? I said, well, if I do my job good enough, or well enough rather, and I'm successful underneath you, it's going to move you to the next level. And I know you have your eyes on the next level. So if I can help you, you're going to help me because I'm going to give 1,000%, even if you only give 100%, because I want your job. I didn't come here to be a salesman. I came here to be a manager, a regional manager, a national manager, and you want to be the head of the company. And that's fair. So I don't have a problem with helping you get to where you want to go. And I think that's what Ha finally thought about is that if he could get his friend to come with him, they could make themselves a dynamic duo and become successful. But, you know, there's no way the other rodent was going to go because in his mind, he was, and I'm saying this with caution, he was paralyzed by the fear of what success of finding more cheese could have been. So it
okay,
was easier to stay put.
let me get
Does
us
that make
started.
sense?
We got people coming in. Rich, we got a few people
Okay.
on the Zoom side, a few people on the Facebook side. So I'm just going to kick it off for our guests that are here. If you are willing, put your name, where you're from in the chat. We're going to give shout outs right after I introduce myself, Nikki Styles Baker. Some of you know me. I'm a recent author of Side Hustle Glow Up. Is my attempt to teach and encourage people not to make mistakes I made in marketing and media. And this book that we're talking about today is important because I was stuck in the 90s doing things in a very 90s way. And I was waiting and trying to encourage people to come with me. And they just weren't coming. So I had to, I just had to build up the confidence to go out there on my own. My business women's group has really motivated me to think about what it is to be a leader. So the leader has to go out and have the courage that others are sometimes not willing to, so they can make sure there's no landmines and then lead others through safely. And so I want to introduce my co-host, Richard
Okay.
Milholm, also known as Ricky. Rick, Rick,
How come you
okay.
didn't give yourself? I want you to say Nikki Styles and give you the horn as well. We're in
Nikki
this together.
sounds
Yay! Yay!
Nikki sounds like we got some people on, but Rich Milholm is a really good friend of mine, also from Miami, Florida. He's volunteered and worked in the United States Air Force. He was exceptional. His career went on to be an air traffic controller. He has had a multifaceted career as a licensed investment banker, insurance agent, commodities broker, festival producer, songwriter, business broker. I don't know what you haven't done, Rich, but thank you. And for those that are here with us, give him a virtual round of applause because he is my good friend and I really trusted him to bring him with me here today to talk to you. My other people that I see on here, I see Amir Williams is on. We got Carla and we got Dr. Bill. Oh, Dr. Bill has definitely got some stuff to talk about when it comes to who moved my cheese. I also have a really good longtime friend, Paul Farrington, coming in on the Zoom side. So I would again give everybody a virtual round of applause. As you know, we're talking about Who Moved My Cheese, the book, but more so we're talking about the principles that I'm hoping that we're all including in our life. And so recently I reread the book and I keep rereading the book because it kind of just keeps me with the motivation to move forward. So the book, Who Moved My Cheese, is written by Spencer Johnson and it was released back in 1987, 88. So I was definitely not aware of it at that time. And this talk today is not a replacement for reading the book. Please read the book. Every time you read the book, you're going to have another takeaway. But I just wanted to open with the book explains that cheese is not necessarily money. It could be money, it could be your career, it could also be relationships, it could also be good health, it could also be freedom, peace in your life. And sometimes we're just petrified of doing the things we have to do to get out of our comfort zone and go there. So Rich, I'm going to let you kick it off. We were already talking about some of the principles of Who Moved My Cheese. Anything you want to open up with?
Well, Who Moved the Cheese? Who Moved My Cheese is one of those kind of books that is very small and very powerful. And if you're not careful, you might make the same mistake that I made when I first read it. I read it within something like 30 minutes or something like that. And I had to go back and reread it because the nuggets that were in the book were so easy to miss that I had to go back and review it because what I first thought I was reading, when I got into it a little bit deeper, I realized it was a much more deeper book than I ever could have imagined. And like you, I've read it on several occasions. And every now and then, especially when I'm making a transition from one job to another, I read that book to remind myself of what I'm really doing as opposed to just trying to jump ship, going to some place where I think is going to be better.
Yeah, I made that same mistake too. And just to notify everybody that's on, Rich and I are going to throw around a few of the principles that we saw in the book. And then we're definitely going to open it up for you to share with us or ask questions. But what did you get from the book or what do you get from these principles? So we're going to talk about the principles a little bit. But one of the oversights I had when I first read the book is all I got was, okay, you got to change. Recently, when I went back, my first takeaways, I had never paid a lot of attention to the characters' names. So the small humans who needed to go out into the maze, their names are him and Ha. I just didn't get it that him and Ha is in the South, that means talking and complaining. Him and his Han, right? Talking and complaining. And intelligent people do talking and complaining the most, right? Because we got so many things to talk and complain about. But the mice names were Sniff and Scurry, which is what we should be doing, right? We should be sniffing the cheese every day so that we can pay attention like, hey, government is cutting grant money. We can see that happening. You don't want to wait for that to happen and go, oh, I might need to find a new job or a new career or a new whatever avenue. So, and then Scurry, my coach, and what really motivated me to read it again recently is I did the social media income challenge with Spectacular Smith. And that was phenomenal. That was a 5-day, like a boot camp. It was grueling, but I had to give this man his props. He opened up all those people's eyes, including mine, and reminded me like, it's time to pivot. It's past the time to pivot. It's past time to be out in the maze. And yes, it's scary. We don't know what it entails. But we should be scurrying. And so he had this saying that I'm sure many of you have heard before, which is success loves speed. So the winner is always the person across the finish line first. So we should be sniffing and scurrying, not hemming and hawing. But let's talk about Ha, because Ha found his way out into the maze, and he found cheese. So what are your takeaways about Ha?
When you're about to make a move, it takes courage. And when I read about how he made the move, despite the fact that his friend refused to go with him, he said to himself, whether or not my friend comes with me or not, I'm still going to go because I know it doesn't make any sense for me to stay here where there's no more cheese when I can't go out there and find that there's a possibility of cheese out there. So it's kind of like saying to us in a very direct fashion, you're already where it's no more. There's no more where you're at. So why are you still there? But we still find excuses to stay when everything is already gone. Even when you go into other books, they'll tell you about, hey, there's no more bison over here or no more water here, and we still stay there. So we're willing to slowly kill ourselves because we're afraid to go someplace new, which is what we're supposed to be doing. That's part of the reason of the fact that we have life and a brain. But we rather just remain in a state of atrophy as opposed to being the explorers that we're supposed to be.
But we were talking about this before we started, but I think that we're misusing or overusing the brain, right? So like you said, that it's almost like the little people are acting like mice, but we think mice are not intelligent, and the mice have enough instinct or just that thing that makes them say, we know the cheese is not here, we have to take a chance and go out there. So would you look at like that's what I guess a lot of us call faith? You know, what is the faith that you stand on? What is the faith that you believe that there is goodness, there is success out there for you? That something about being highly intelligent blocks or complicates that belief.
See, I think you've just given humans credit for something that is more based than that. I think what I would call it is not faith, I would call it hunger, because the mice understand hunger. And I don't know if they pray, but I know that they know what hunger means. And we as humans, we justify us not going because we're saying we have faith, but we're not willing to do anything. And even the Bible tells you faith without works is dead. And we're willing to just sit there and say, well, God's going to take care of it. Well, why do you have hands and feet if you're not supposed to move? I don't understand it.
Yeah. I want to.
What do you think?
I wanted to do a real quick overview. I just want to know,
Go ahead.
Get a feel in the room, in Zoom or on Facebook. If you've read Who Moved My Cheese, will you put yes in the chat? If you haven't, put no in the chat. So we have a lot of people who haven't read it. We can give just a general outline of what the book is about right before we open up to start getting people's comments. So on the Zoom side, hey guys, have you read it or not? Just put in yes or no in the chat if you can. And on the Facebook side, put in yes or no if you can. We got Comic Strategy in the house. All right. Okay, so yeah, a lot of times it's been a long time. So in my class, you know, when our coach said, okay, Michael said no, he never read it. Okay, Percy said hello. So we got a couple of no's and haven't read it in a while. Paul says read it a long time ago too. Okay, Carla not yet. Okay, people, y'all gotta get Who Moved My Cheese. But I'll give a do you want to give you give it, Rich? Give us a quick synopsis of what the book is.
The best thing about the Who Moved My Cheese, you're going to find out that there's two parts to it. The first part is it tells you a story of two mice and two humans, and basically what happens when you no longer know where your cheese is at. And that cheese could be your money, it could be your happiness, it could be your relationship, whatever that represents you. But in the book, it talks about cheese. And then it talks about what happens when the humans, they go out there and they're looking for the cheese and they don't have a problem. But the real part about the story is that the rodents, the mice rather, they decided to have an episode. And in this episode, it explains to you what happens when one person is willing to, or in this case, a mice is willing to go look for cheese, while the other has basically said, no, I'm not going to move from here. And then and I don't want to give you, a spoiler alert at the end, what happens, even though it may seem quite simple to figure out what the end's going to be. It does have a little twist to it. What happens at the end, you get to realize that a lot of what they're going through, we as human beings in the space of human behavior are doing the same thing that the mice were doing, as opposed to moving forward and trying to find our cheese, in a nutshell.
Yeah. So the book is kind of like, I want to say kind of like an allegory, but there's two tiny human and two tiny mice, and they're in this maze, and they all find this place where there's a lot of cheese. So I like the money cheese. That gets me excited. So we all in our life has found a money place or a happy place. And then also something happens when that cheese disappears, right? And so what happened that him and Ha did, they sat around him and Ha and saying, I wonder who took the cheese. Why did they take the cheese? It's unfair that they took the cheese. We deserve the cheese. As a matter of fact, we deserve benefits with the cheese. So they got entitled when they didn't even put the cheese there in the first place. They just found the cheese. And unlike the little humans, the mice would smell the cheese every day, and the mice knew that the cheese was running out. So the mice they all had little tennis shoes, but the mice kept their tennis shoes strapped around their neck because they knew another day might come when there's no cheese again. But the humans built houses and they put pictures on the wall and they like, cheese is good. They got very comfortable and happy and very arrogant with the fact that they had found the cheese, which again, it could have been a blessing that they had found it, but they got entitled. So a big part of why I wanted to share this, that was my experience. I discovered graphic design years ago. People were saying, hey, Nikki, would you do my CD cover? And I said, you gonna pay me to do this? Yeah, okay. So I got very comfortable. I got comfortable with the companies I worked for. And over the years, that work dwindled and dwindled and dwindled. And now with AI, don't nobody need a graphic designer, right? What do you need a flyer for when everybody's on Facebook shopping? So, I had to come to that reality. And the final throw was I found a really good job. I got fired without cause, and when I took the class, I was really at my last $100. And so, that's the kind of pain that a lot of times we don't want to share. When life hits us and there's no cheese, we don't tell our friends, we don't tell our families. And then what do? When there's cheese out there, but your emotion has gotten knocked down so low that you can't move, you're depressed, and you almost curse God. Back to good orderly direction. When the good orderly direction still exists, it's hard to accept. That ego makes it hard to accept I'm out of order. And until we absorb that, we don't get back on the path of good orderly direction. So let me see. I'm gonna throw some of these other principles out there. Let's see if any of these you want to talk on, and then we'll start pulling from the audience. But we got smell the cheese often. That's one principle. When you stop being afraid, you'll feel free. The quicker you let go of old cheese, the sooner you will find new cheese. Move with the cheese. Be ready to change quickly. And also we talked about, what about going back? What about you go find the new cheese? How important is it to go back and help somebody else that's still in that cheeseless place?
Well, what I like to jump on the principle is that when you first make the decision, when the cheese is not there anymore, because we're having to come to Jesus moment, I think, about what has happened in my past. I was working in the financial career field. I was making over 6 figures a year, easy 6 figures. And one day I decided that I wanted to go into music. That was my true passion. And so I went from 6 figures to zero. And it was one of those moments that that's when I really learned about Who Moved My Cheese, because I actually left my job because of that book. Because when I read it, I was like, you know what? I could sit here and work 60 hours a week and make 100. Well, actually, it was more than that then. And just go out on a Friday night on happy hour and then sleep on Saturday and go out on Saturday. And then on Sunday, get ready to go to work on Monday and never really enjoy the money I was making. It was nice, it was comfortable, but it wasn't productive for my mind, body, and my soul. And after I read Who Moved the Cheese, with another book that we'll be talking about later in the future, it made me make a decision to leave. But eventually down the road, it became the best decision I could have made.
Yeah, I can relate with that's Who Moved My Cheese. That those principles is a part of why I left Florida. Because the circle
Mm.
of people that I was around, I loved them to death. They just weren't ready to go where I was ready to go. I knew I had to raise my son. I needed to be, and the cost of living is a lot less. So that I'm here on a Friday night talking about books, right? But in Miami, we would have been out at the club, spinning it up, popping bottles,
Happy
right?
hour.
And so I had to love, I just believed that the cheese, a better cheese was out there for me. And I remember when I left, my brother thought I was crazy. He's like, Alabama? Why Alabama? You know, it's racist and all the fears that everybody had. And here I am 10 years later with a much better life. My son is third year college, computer science, much better life. And I had to experience that. I mean, so I can tell, I believe this book is very practical. These are principles that are real. And I know that fear is not what God wants for us. It's not what good orderly direction wants for us. Every scripture I read in any book advises against that kind of fear. So I want to ask the audience as we go on to this next segment, if you were less afraid, if you were not afraid, what would you do? What is
Oh, great question.
what is the cheese for you right now? What is that thing that's amazing, but you know that there's a block and you know that it's you that's stopping you or your associates discouraging you? What is the thing? Come on, put it in the chat. Don't be scared. What is the thing that where's your cheese right now? Is it a better relationship? Is it a better career? Is it going into another industry in your job? Is it leaving the person you're with? You know, is it leaving your job? All right, we're getting some stuff. Somebody says they have a lot of different cheeses. We all do have a lot of different cheeses. But you know, there's those things. We got to start with something, right? And so I want to talk about like AI. A part of my pivot recently is I decided to come back here into the social media space. Previously, I would post about once a month, and I would only post when I achieved something. So if I didn't achieve something that month, I didn't post. But what I was doing was going lower in the algorithm because nobody saw me. So when I did say, hey, you need graphic design, nobody responded, or I only got 2 or 3 likes because nobody was seeing me. So according to the algorithm, I was not relevant. And so why would the algorithm believe I'm relevant if I don't believe I'm relevant? So why, if you have a business, if you are an online personality, why are you not posting every day? Or were you posting what you had for breakfast? Or you posting your cute little outfit you did when you did the boots on the ground? But you're not posting because you don't believe cheese is out there for you. So you're not posting related to your business. So you're not taking care of your business. You're watching everybody else's business. Oh, she doing a podcast. What is she doing? Right? So you're minding everybody else's business, but not your own. So I decided to pivot. I said, I know I'm not a graphic designer anymore, even with 20 years in that field. I'm a social media marketer. And I want to put all of my effort to continue to learn and make sure it's safe And I want to teach people about AI. I got a it's a free thing with my business members. We were talking about AI, how to use AI, and I want to talk about how to use AI in conjunction with social media to make life easier for us. Because a lot of us are saying, this is just too much work. It is a lot. Until you're able to hire a team to support you, but we got to start somewhere, and that's that scary maze. So is anybody out there worried about AI? Okay, I'm starting to see some answers, Rich. Let me tell you what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
See, we want to master AI. I don't know if we can master it because it's going to just go deeper and deeper, but we can get in there, right? We can start learning it. And better health, that's definitely a maze that a lot of us, we talk about it, we go, I'm going to do it next week, right? And maybe like success, maybe we're afraid of being healthy too. Real estate ownership, I want that too. I want to own some land. That was another thing I thought about moving to Alabama. Professional poker playing. Oh, that's a fun one.
Okay.
Okay, and financial freedom. Yes, and a greater relationship with God. I like that. Good order and direction. Okay, let's see what I got on this side. I got okay, got some people trying to join us still. And like I said too, how can we move forward? I want to build community, and a big fear for me was people won't come with, that people are gonna say, "Oh, Nikki's lost her damn mind," right? She's crazy. But I'm a passionate person. I got so excited. I pretty much have been preaching this for the last 20 years, but nobody seemed to willingly want to come with. So I just did nothing. And that I'm not gonna do anymore. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be like, I laughed at myself, and I'm gonna reach my hand back for those that are ready to go. I said I'll be the Harriet Tubman of the information age. I'll reach my hand back, but it's only for those that are real, willing to go. And if I can leave a trail of crumbs, I will. But I'm hoping that we'll have more of us that'll move in faith and not get stuck in that fear.
So we're leaving the cheese now, and we're gonna go to the Underground Railroad.
I mean, we're trying to get to the motherland. We gotta get.
Yeah, okay. I just want to know what we're doing. I need to get my passport together.
Never told us we weren't gonna have to go through the dark. It might be dark, but we got to go anyway, and where we got to go. And so, that's what you were asking me about my moth earlier. I changed my super fly from a house fly to the moth because the moth is attracted to the light, and then my mom's name was a kind of moth. So it's also just a reminder that I want to stay honoring the values that she gave me. And she didn't raise no scary cats. So even if I'm afraid, I got to do it anyway. And I hope everybody else thinks about their legacy. Like, we don't have time to be afraid. Even if you don't have children, right? You have a community depending on you somebody got to have courage. We keep saying there's not enough good leaders. Well, who is it going to be if it's not you? Okay, Dr. Bill, you ready to open it up to our guests, Rich? See what they talking about. So I want to open it up.
I'd love to hear what they have to say. I would love to hear them.
We got a few guests on Zoom. If you guys want to come on a screen and talk, you can come off of mute. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you're thinking. And then those on the Angela said, not a trail of crumbs. Yes, a trail of cheese crumbs. You rather have a crumb or you rather have nothing? Yes, a trail of crumbs. Hey, I take what I can get when there's no cheese. Okay, let's see.
Your stomach will tell you that.
Anybody else want to just come on and talk? Have you had an experience of, or are you experiencing that fear? Especially in this information age. Are you afraid of being exposed on Facebook? Are you afraid of what your friends are gonna think? Are you out in the maze? Are you handling business?
Hey, I would like to say so. That's okay. If that's possible. Hi, I'm Comic Strategy, also known as Damon Jackson. Comic Strategy is my stage name, but I like what Richard said when he talked about he was making 6-figure income, and nice, comfortable, but wasn't feeling fulfilled. So he took like the harder path of being a musician, and best decision that he ever made. I think, we live in a system here in the United States where we are being taught and trained to become employees. And when you do that, you're thinking you're going the right way. They tell you about all the jobs that make millions of dollars and that kind of a thing, but none of that teaches you who you are or what your passion is. And so eventually you got to get to that point. And once you do, you have to go for it. If you don't, you just feel a life of regret. And so I think when it comes to like me and my cheese, the thing is I have some regrets. And so I want to fix those. And so that's why I made that little list of all my cheeses. So yeah, so thank you.
New cheese
You
is
know,
always better than old cheese. You see, you said you got to get your passport. That's right. Get out
yeah,
there in the maze. And another good thing is, I guess what I aspire to, if we have, even if it's a small community of people willing to hold each other accountable, the book also says we are safer in the maze than we are in a place where there is no cheese, right? In a place where there is no cheese and you're just there hiding out, you're oppressed, you're by yourself. Even the Bible says 1 is easily broken, right? 2 is stronger, and 3 is unbroken. So even with just a small group of like-minded people who understand and share your value system, you're much safer. Nobody's perfect. Jesus had Judas, right? But you're safer in the maze than in a place where there is no cheese. So keep that on your mind.
but I'd like to jump on what he just said there for a minute because he brought up a very interesting point, and there's a term that I would like us to start to think because a lot of the things that happen to us here in the Who Move Our Cheese is a question of language. And one of the things I like us to start thinking about is the word wage slave. Because when I was making the 100, 200, 300, whatever, I felt like I was a slave to the check. So I had to put 60 to 80 hours a week to get that money, but I still wasn't able to enjoy the money I was making. But when you use the word employees, which sounds so much more refined, it allows us to almost hypnotize ourselves into a position where we feel that we don't have to do anymore or leave where we are. And it creates the fear from us leaving the money. And the money actually becomes our master. And then we blame ourselves when we don't move. But when I moved, I found out I was able to make that money and even more without being the slave to the money, which is the same thing like with the mice. Once the cheese left, they were willing to stay in a bad situation as opposed to go looking for a better situation. I'm not saying another one, just something even better than what they had. And I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. Do we have anybody else that wants to come on and talk?
Anybody?
I'm putting in the chat for those who came in later. If you didn't answer, you prefer to answer in the chat. What would you do if you were not afraid? And if anybody on the Zoom side wants to talk, questions, it's open. Well, we can talk about, Richard, we were talking about this earlier and we slightly touched on it. But what you guys are just talking about now, lead in, is that attachment to the cheese. That can be attachment to people, attachment to money. Money is not a real thing, right? Money is a representation of it, something we exchange for value. So like Richard's Man in Babylon talks about, before there was money, you might have had a cow and I say, okay, how much for your cow? You say, give me 30 chickens. I don't know, 50 chickens. And we created money. And then soon we're going to be dealing with cryptocurrency. We might not even have tangible money anymore. So if we're not ready to embrace these changes, we're going to be there like him and Ha, really mad because we feel entitled for someone to give it to us instead of us aggressively going out and making sure that we and our families and our communities are all right. So we're leaving it to chance. We're setting ourselves up for more disappointment.
You said something. You said something earlier, and I want to bring it to the chat. We live in a world that's based on a pendulum concept. And so sometimes life is going extremely well, and then sometimes it seems that it's not going well at all. But the reality is you have to be prepared whether it's going great or not. And a lot of times we get so caught up in the euphoria of the good times, we're not prepared when the harder times come around, which eventually they come around. So I would like to ask the chat, how many people have ever had a situation where either they lost their cheese, somebody took their cheese, or the cheese was just not there for them?
I just had to get that. You repeat
Don't be
that.
shy.
I hear somebody talking.
Yeah, somebody's saying something.
Repeats, please.
Me?
No, not.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, somebody, we got some people on Zoom. If you want to say something, you got to come off of mute. You all are muted. If you want to say something, if you don't want to be seen, just turn on your audio.
Well, Nikki, I'll say something. I want to say something because I'm just so glad to see you have left your cheese and found
My
new
boo
cheese. Yeah, yeah. Because I remember when you first started as a designer, as a designer, and now you're a digital creator, and I think that's the essence of what are you talking about. And somehow, I remember reading this book some 20 or 30 years ago. I don't know how long, it's been a long time. Um, but I know, I guess I've never been one to sit back and wait. And that's why I'm in Panama now. I'm living in Panama now
Oh,
because
nice.
my cheese is peace, peace of mind, and for a long time, my cheese was um, um, extending myself for others, trying to make sure
Mhm.
that people were able to uh, uh, prosper and grow and see justice and enjoy things, giving of myself to others. But now at this point in my life where the number of years I got left and the number I have lived are greatly outnumbered, I made a decision that I think it's time now for me to give to myself. Uh, so like in making that decision, like you said, one of the mice made the decision to leave and the other decided to stay. And that happened in my life. My ex-wife decided that we, was looking for different cheese. So it was no at the point when I made the decision to for peace. And look, for me, I've been through the earning stages and making money and doing all that the hustles and the addictions and all that stuff. I've been through that, and none of that even that I may have thought was my cheese at the time really wasn't my cheese. It was just satisfying urges at the time. So now that my cheese is peace. See, the thing about that, it can't run out. Can't nobody give it to you. It's nowhere. You create your own. And as long as you live, you can create your peace by letting go of things that attempt to interfere with your peace. So a thing about leaving behind, it doesn't take courage. It takes letting go of your past. And anybody can do that. You don't have to have faith to do it. You could just decide that, hey, it's just not where I want to be, and go to where you think is better. And if that don't work, go somewhere else. But for me, I should say anybody can do it. It was very simple for me, and I guess I don't have that fear. My fear happened when I was out there running wild and didn't know if I was going to live or die. But now that I know, have many, many years away from running wild and have spent some time giving back, reaching back, as you said, to others, that wasn't, if my cheese ran out, because there's still a lot of people that need to be reached back. But how long do I want to reach back and rather than reach within? Because you say something about the Bible several times. I got a whole different view about the Bible now. We could go into that. So that don't mean. But the one thing that the philosopher Yeshua, known as Jesus, taught us that everything that we're looking for is already inside of us. And if it's inside of us, it can't run out. The only way it can run out is when life run out. So we don't have to stay with what's not good for us, and we don't have to be afraid of what's in front of us. Because before I speak, what's going to come out will be the future. When I speak, it's the present. And when I leave in a few minutes, that would be the past. So the past, present, and future are all just one big ball that we allow language to dictate and determine how we going to see ourselves in the midst of this thing called life. Because life is going to go on and it's going to go on. Sometimes it's going to be like you like it, sometimes you don't like it. But there's no such thing as a bad time. That's only a bad interpretation. Then sometimes we just don't like what's happening. So get up and go, or learn to like it, either way. So, and like I say, like some years ago, I saw America where it was headed, and it is headed toward a civil war. The Civil War, as a matter of fact, has already started, the verbal part of it. But in order to get things back, like some people may want it to be in terms of rights and justice, everything, they're going to take a civil war. So I didn't want no part of that. So I found my little place in the sun where it's peace. I had to send you some of the videos of the fun people are having. And I no longer feel guilty for enjoying myself. That's the peace. See, this country, this Western society has got us so confused that we begin to feel guilty if we're not working our butts off or enjoying ourselves. And over the years, I have learned that it's okay. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to rest. Because stuff to do will never run out.
Yeah, that's true. Nicole
Thanks
Brown said, Dr. Bill, she said, preach, my brother. But I think you hit on some great points. Like you said, I started using that acronym for God, good orderly direction, just to, respect that there are people who have different faith practices, but you can't go wrong when you say, what is the good orderly direction for you at any given time? Like I said, and like you said, your cheese changed. I'm glad you found that peace in Panama. And I found mine in Alabama, and sometimes that will change too. But I do thank you. And it's good to hear your voice. So now we can all plan a trip to Panama to see Dr. Bill.
Amen.
Amen. And Rich is back. Rich, you got to get your camera back on. Did I have anybody else? We are coming into our closing time. We got about 15 minutes left. I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody that really wants to share on this topic of who moved my cheese. What would you do if you were not afraid? And maybe, what does it take to help? I mean, Dr. Bill, he's just a brave kind of guy. He's that guy. I mean, I saw his process of where he was in his career, the time of his life from a professor in the church and to where he is now. He's always a delight to talk to, but I have to admit for myself, maybe it's just hormones and I'm wired that way. I'm scared of everything. But knowing that about me has helped me realize I can't let that stop me from doing the things that I think is aligned with my purpose at this time. And if that should change or shift, I have to be obedient enough to follow whatever that is. So I'm a person that deals with a lot of fears. And so I especially wanted to offer up some advice to those who experience that like me. And like Dr. Bill was saying too, I know that you've done ministry in Africa, and like you said, you've been there for many people. You've been there in treatment. We had HIV ministry in the church. I mean, so much efforts to outreach, but there is always that time where you gotta take care of yourself. So my coach, when I did take the class with Spectacular Smith, we had the chance to ask him a question, and my one question, my ego was all on entitlement. I was like, I built this career the good old fashioned way. It took me 20 years to get this business going. It took me 20 years to get my degree. I was all pontificating. And I said, but I don't know why things just don't seem to get better. And I said, all I want to do is help people. He said, sister, you are like a bucket that's half full. And you keep trying to fill other people's cups, but your bucket is still almost empty. He says, so you are burning out, and those people can't trust you because when they look at you, they can clearly see you've neglected yourself. He says, so get your bucket full and you can fill their cups from your overflow. And that helped me to say, my desire to give back will never go away. But if I'm always on empty, and my God, and my understanding gave me the propensity to be a bucket, but those people then now resent you when you say, I can't help you right now, because they're so reliant on you showing up, giving the most. You're there early, you're there late. And then the one time you can't, they got an attitude with you and you the worst person in the world. And that's hurtful to a person that's a real yellow nurturer like me. Like, wait a minute, not me. But it is better if you've taken care of yourself and you know that that's what's going to happen. So you need to become as dependent on yourself to show up for you. So like I said, with Dr. Bill, you definitely deserve that, this time of peace and giving back to yourself. And I mean, for all of those people who were just giving until they burned out. I saw my mom burn herself out. And at her funeral, people were talking about, she paid their mortgage off. She put a girl through nursing school. And as much as I love my mom, I said, I don't want to burn myself out like that. I mean, I know I have to die, but I want to be able to, like I said, peacefully give accordingly. So not overcompensate because of my own insecurities, but just give enough. So thank you, Dr. Bill. Rich, you got to turn your camera back on.
It's on? Oh, it's not on?
No. Is there anybody else that wants to talk before Rich gets ready to close us out?
Hey, Nikki, and Bill, Dr. Bill, this is Paul. Nikki and I go back, I won't say the number of years. However, I'm appreciative of the context, the outreach, the transparency here. When I left the state of Florida when I was 21 and relocated to Ohio, and just in search of defining what I thought was not only a career, but what I envisioned what manhood and flexibility was, which was a hard decision. And when the context of moving my cheese, it's in essence of how do you handle being uncomfortable and trying to search for being comfortable. And I've gone through a gamut of losing a job and having the world on my shoulders of stress, to balancing that out, to going back to that cycle again because of just, different type of challenges. But I think the aspect of being nimble, humble, and, depending on people who are religious, having that faith in God, I think has helped. But also at the same time, never being comfortable. And I struggle with that balance of wanting comfort, yet knowing every day is still going to be an uncomfortable feeling. So I mean, I won't be remiss. I've been very fortunate, but I do value the time that I do have for my family. But at the same time, I'm a constant servant too. So I commend you. I appreciate this conversation and just the outreach. And so I just want to share that with you all.
Paul, I won't say how many years I've known you either, but I will say I've known Paul since early high school years, and I've been seeing you on social media. And I do just want to remind people, like, we talk about all the messed up things that social media is, and like I said, I was just caught up in my ego, like posting on there, you know, people not talking about nothing, and I mean, it's a wasted opportunity. It's a way this is a place where we can have a community. It's one stream of communication. I mean, if something ever happens in the future where one stream of communication is shut down, it would be to our benefit to have multiple ways to communicate with our community. So this is just one way. I have a couple of people on the Zoom side that would like to say something. I've been putting the Zoom link in the chat for those people. If there's anybody on the Facebook side that does want to come on camera, just put, hey, I want to say something, and I'll give you the Zoom link. You can come on in. Rich, your camera is still not on. I'm going to beat you.
Okay. I'm trying to put it on.
Okay, keep on trying. Get out here in the face now. And
I move my cheese.
thank you, Paul. And I will keep on watching you travel the world on social media. And I'm just happy to still be, like I said, everybody, I have to realize everybody's not going to come out into the maze. Like Dr. Bill was saying, his wife wasn't going where he was going.
Ex-wife.
We have to sometimes go where we have to go, you know. Let's see. Who else do we have? Come on, people, get out of here with this cheese. Ex-wife. I know, ex-wife. I was trying to just be nice, okay. Let's see. But that's the other thing, like you said too, what I was saying about the bucket, going back to help someone or staying in that place because the people you love and they may be well-intentioned or not willing to go, it puts you in jeopardy. Like I said, and like Paul was saying, there is a place where you really have to ask yourself, what is your faith? Well, you know, what promises do you stand on? What do you really believe about this world and this life that you're living? Because I don't know, that was the thing for me to say, I know that's not right. I know staying in this place where I'm not supposed to be is not in Miami. I love Miami. I miss the beach, but that's just not where my cheese was. And for the people who were asking me, why would you leave Miami? And every time I go to visit, I say, that's why. That's traffic, this crime. But you know, other people, it may be tolerable, and that may be where their cheese are. So I can't advise someone to stay or go from their job or their home or their relationship. But I definitely can say, if you're not happy, you really need to think about, where is your cheese? Are you moving with it? Or what are you doing with your life? I got Nicole Graham on the Facebook side. Nicole, if you can hear me, come on over to Zoom and take us out. Close us out. Rich, since you got disappeared for a minute, did you catch any of those last speakers? Anything you want to say to them?
Yes. I appreciate them contributing to the conversation. I think this is the kind of space where these are the moments that we're going to grow, and we're going to take the information that we have and give ourselves times to meditate on what is the very next step, because it should not be a conversation where we pontificate all the things that we've done or have succeeded. It should be the ability for us to see the mirror of the other person and realize that's us. And we need to move. They're showing us who we are and how we need to move forward. And these are the kind of places where I love to be at, because it does my heart warm to understand that we're helping each other, even though we're also helping ourselves in the process.
All right. So that brought me to think about accountability. And so,
Mm.
and that too, when I talk to my smartest friends, and that's one thing we'll be doing in the boot camp, I'm going to give what we call the bank style test. I gave it to a couple of friends already and explained to them the bank test is a trademark test. It's almost like a personality test, but it teaches you about what you respond to financially and with money, and and how other people respond. So you have blueprint people. Those are people who need to understand a clear framework before they do anything. You got action people. They're the kind of people who they're ready to go. If they can see quickly, and they're the people that you say you might think like a mouse. They're not the smartest people maybe, but they know how to just act. So they might get into some mistakes, but they have surpassed quickly. The nurturers and the knowledgeable people we're the nurturers are the community people. We want everybody to come with us to heaven, right? And then the knowledgeable people, which I'm a tie for knowledgeable, we gotta pontificate and we gotta analyze and we gotta say, well, I read this and I heard that and I saw this on the news and did you know? And by the time we did all of that, the mice are been gone and found the cheese, and we're still in this place where there's no cheese. So we got to find some other filter or framework that will allow us intelligent people to move a little faster, and for us community people not to wait for everybody to get on the boat before we embark, because everybody's not getting on the boat. So, hey, Nicole, you made it on over here.
Yes, I did. I'm traveling home.
Okay.
So I guess camera on, I guess.
What were you thinking? I saw you posted don't throw your pearls to swine. What is thinking?
I just have learned some lessons in the last 4 years, and just in my experiences as I am moving on in other opportunities in leadership, which is something I was saying. I always say I want to retire, right? And give others that position, because I think I'm a good trainer. And that's what people don't think of me. They think I need to be somewhere. But, I'm taking a new challenge, as you know. Ms. Baker is a governor of the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women's Clubs. And now I am the national first vice president of that same organization. And, we talked about me being the next governor of my district. And that was a conversation, and I think she understood what I was going, and I think I was wavering of not moving. But I ended up moving somewhere else, and those decisions have come to surface for the membership making the decision to elect me. But one of the things I just want to leave people with is that we all have treasures, and sometimes, like I say, some of the treasures we just don't need to always showcase to everyone. And I'm learning that before I move on in age. I do like the gentleman who had spoke, said he made some decisions to leave America and start anew in Panama. I mean, I would love to do those things, but some things just hold you back, just not just professionally, but family wise. So, but when you get that time, you may just take the leap. It may be a little later, but it's never too late to start anew. So, that's what I wanted to leave you all here with. See my face. But like I said, I am traveling home. So I thank you so much, Nikki, for sharing this with your guests and our membership. And we hope to do some more building with this in your new, Zoom platform.
Congratulations, Madam First Vice President. I am very proud of you. You moved with the cheese. You went for your biggest and best, and it has been given to you. So I am so proud of you. And again, we will move forward with purpose, right? So that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. All right, Rich. Well, we got about Nicole, I'm going to let Rich close us out. Anybody that didn't get a chance, we will be back next week, Friday. I'm still throwing around what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or Who Not How. But I'll put a post out there, and it'll kind of be like this. I definitely want more interaction, and in future times. And I know it's Friday night. Okay, only nerds are here on Friday night talking about books. But and only Richard still doesn't have his camera on.
I know. I can't figure. Somebody move my cheese.
Okay, well, that's all right. Well, you won't get mad about it. You keep moving. But I want you to close us out. Maybe tell us a little bit about the boot camp. Rich is going to be with me. Boot camp. I've been talking to people about it. I've got posts about it at Go Fly Biz on Facebook. Also, links to it on my website, superflyers.biz. The boot camp is a 4-hour workshop. This beginning to deal with mindset, social media, Canva, ways to create bulk content so you're not taking up all your time. If you have any kind of business, organization, or just whatever your side hustle is that needs to be your main hustle, ways to get out there and make that content based on my experience. So Rich is going to be talking on Rich Dad Poor Dad. And also we have Stephanie LaStala, her social media moniker is the Date Profiler. She's going to be giving people who haven't taken it yet the bank test, bank style test, and teaching people to better communicate. So if you're wondering why you're only getting 1 or 2 likes on a post, it's because you are talking to people who think just like you. So she's going to teach you how to better phrase and create content using AI, but how to better communicate with your audience so you can actually get the response that you need to get. So Rich.
I'm here.
Any closing thoughts with Who Moved My Cheese or about what's to come?
Yeah, I want to give just a few thoughts about on the boot camp. And what I'm going to say, I feel deep in my heart, we all really know this is what we're facing. We're at a point in our lives right now where we still have the vim and the vigor to be successful, tremendously successful. We have the desire. We have these conversations in our head of what we would do and could do if we would just have 1 or 2 things fall in place. But the reality is none of this is going to happen unless we come to the decision of what is our mindset. Our mindset. Many of the reasons why we're still in the positions where we are, and once again, I tip my hat to the doctor, is that you have to come to the conclusion that you've done a lot of nothing and it's not going to keep on working at this point with what we're faced at this point in our lives. Now, tomorrow could be a beautiful day, but the reality right now, it seems like the world is moving in a direction where if we don't get ahead of the wave, we will be buried by the wave. So what I would like to say is that come to the boot camp. It's exactly what you hear. I'm former military. We all need a form of training to get our mind out of this lackadaisical thought pattern into a more regimented concept of, hey, I have to do something now because the time, I may not know when something's going to happen, but I can feel that the time is getting limited. And I think with you, Nikki, and our guest that's going to be coming on, the good doctor, I think there's going to be some insights that we all need. And I'm going to close by saying this. The only reason we're on this right now is because deep inside of us, we know we can do better. But we just need somebody who's willing to say it to us in a way that we can find it acceptable and then take the action that is required to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone asked me about the cost. I don't know if I'm supposed to be able to say a cost, but I did put it in the chat. It's close to $100 for the boot camp. But just to let you know what you get and why that's the cost. Right now, I'm doing a 50% off promo code. And again, another thing my coach reminded us is people pay attention when they pay. And kind of like I've given away so much free training. I used to do free trainings at church. I still do. And of the people that I train for free, I can probably count 2 in the last 20 years. that grasped what I gave and was able to use it for them.
Hello? Is it off?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. Hmm. Well, thank you
Everybody
for
just
coming.
left. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you for coming.
See you next time.
See you next time. This was enjoyable.